So throughout the process, Fantom actually sunsetted their original liquidity incentive program, which was very successful, but they literally sunsetted it to move towards a more, almost like a Pomelo system. They moved their incentive program to Gitcoin grants, which is the same thing as Pomelo essentially, to kind of have a different mechanism for choosing which projects are getting the Fantom incentive. So it's pretty interesting because we kind of went the reverse order where we had the public funding through Pomelo first, and then we're rolling out the liquidity incentives, but they'll kind of still be going in parallel. I thought that was pretty interesting to see that they were kind of following the same path with the quadratic funding and matching.
Yeah, this is a recent article that Fantom just published this week, I think, even very recent. And yeah, they're going kind of sunsetting and going towards a Gitcoin model. So maybe Yield Plus V3 goes into Pomelo somehow down the road. We don't know. But I think it's really interesting to see these chains adapt. So every chain is in a different state of liquidity incentives. Fantom has been operating, I believe, a year and a half or maybe a year, their liquidity incentive. So maybe the final form of Yield Plus is a Pomelo version yield initiative, quadratic funding mechanism. We don't know. But I think what's nice with EOS is we already have Pomelo, and it could be the next versions of Yield Plus. But I think we need to go through the first steps. And I think we have minimum 1 year long of liquidity incentives in the traditional form. And then we can kind of get fancier with quadratic funding mechanisms.
I'm interested to see how the DeFi projects utilize their EOS liquidity incentives. So there's different tiers. They'll get a certain number of EOS, which is going to be detailed in the blue paper. And I'm interested to see all of the different options for what they do, because you think about it, like they don't have to deliver that EOS as a liquidity incentive. So if you're staked to like a box EOS pool, for example, like they don't have to just deliver the EOS directly. They could take that EOS, they could do a buyback with it. They could incentivize like lockups, and maybe you got to lock up your tokens, your liquidity, and that's how you get the extra bonuses. But regardless of how they decide to implement it, it'll be interesting because they'll all do it a little bit differently. And also all of the yields will go up. Like most of the existing DeFi projects, at least the bigger ones on EOS right now, are all going to qualify for more than the first tier. All of the DeFi projects, most likely are using a project that has enough TVL that it'll qualify for this. So it's pretty much a guarantee that all of the yields will go up in some way, shape, or form. But it'll be interesting to see in what form that yield does go up. I think with the EVM projects, because once the Trust EVM goes live, obviously there's no projects there yet. So you could see projects like a Sushi Swap or someone who does like multi-chain deployments. They have already got a token. But what I think will be cool is if a new project can launch. So if you guys were around when Box launched and DFS launched, they all did the fair token distributions, which were popular at the time, like a YFI-like distribution for locking up liquidity. So it'll be interesting to see if any new projects pop up, whether on native EOS or the EVM, it doesn't really matter. But if it's a new project that launches and it's able to have a brand new token and it's able to attract at least $500,000, ideally way more, like DeFi Box and DFS were really successful getting tens of millions of dollars of liquidity really quick. It'd be interesting to see different like buyback and burn mechanisms or just pure buyback mechanisms on new projects with limited supplies.